gamers, my name is KK and today we are god boosting Admiral Brickel, the hero that everyone thought was relatively weak as standalone hero, turned out to be not as bad as we thought actually. And how good was it? You're gonna find out by the end of this video. But first, subscribe right now and press the like button. Let's begin. So, Admiral Brickel. This is mainly the passive-aggressive support hero. What do I mean by this? Brickell is not meant to deal a big amounts of damage. Why? Because she has a ridiculously good passive and active abilities. First, her level 3 ability doubles the attack speed of all water towers on the map, and on level 20 with Monkey Knowledge, I'm pretty sure, she can double the attack speed of all the water monkeys on the map. And by the way, if you manage to place the temple of the sun god on the water, you can do this using the ice tower. You will be able to buff the sun god with the Brickell as the water tower. The good tip that you can use in your games. So Brickell is good, but she needs the submarines, the boats, and as a standalone hero, she's pretty weak. However, not as weak as I thought, because even though she has relatively low attack speed, so early levels Brickell is good in terms of pierce. So she has like her shot with the pistol can pierce up to 5 layers, I think, right from the level 1. So this is a pretty powerful hero in terms of pierce. However, the attack speed is lackluster, and we compensate for this attack speed by those tiny mines that you have on the back of her boat. And this is kinda well-balanced hero that you can use in all game modes, but today we are god boosting her. First, we need some farming to actually get this ball rolling, but later on I'll buff the Brickell, I'm gonna give her a few other buffs, overclocking, village, etc. And what towers can we use other than the heroes themselves in this series? First, we can use the hyper boost of overclocking engineer, but he cannot deal pops, so we're gonna place him at the end of the track. Second, we are allowed to use the ice tower 0 to 5 in order to stun, and we are allowed to use the glue gunner, the perma glue or something like this. It's same upgrade path, 0 to 5. We are not allowed to use the boomerangs except a few cases, but most of the time we're not allowed to use the boomerangs. We're not allowed to use the bomb towers. For example, 5 to 0 is a really good late game bomb tower, but we are not allowed to use it. And we cannot use any damage dealing towers. So we have limitless farms, limitless villages, sabotage supply line, and overclocks if we need them, but we cannot have the damage dealers. And that's about it. These are the rules. We are also allowed to have the permabrew alchemist. Even though alchemists do steals a few pops, it's not big deal, and I think it's more than reasonable to allow the permabrew in order to double the everything, like attack speed, pierce, and the damage of the heroes just for this small trade-off. And how do we evaluate which hero is good and which hero is bad? As simple as counting the amount of pops hero had by the end of round 120, because by the end of this round there are in total 8,260,000 pops. How many pops out of these can the hero get? Because Churchill got 7,950,000 pops out of 8 point something. Adora got 7.6 million. Quincy was also pretty close to these. What is the pop count for the Brickell? And you know, I don't even remember when I filmed this whether Brickell will reach round 120, because round 119 is very scary. So we're gonna find out by the end of this video. And today, guys, since we have the sea theme with the Brickel and her water towers, I'm gonna tell you the story about the seas I have been to in my life. I've been to quite a lot because if we are considering that most of the people never been to the seas and never swam on the beaches, etc., I can consider the amount of seas I've been quite a lot. So the first sea is Black Sea. Black Sea is the sea located near my hometown Odessa. Black Sea is, it's for those who don't know, this is in Europe. So then the second sea is Mediterranean. I'm pretty sure everyone knows Mediterranean. Third sea I've been to is the Red Sea. Fourth sea is the Dead Sea. Fifth sea I've been to is, I'm not really sure the pronunciation. I think it's Aegean or something like that. It's also this one is a pretty small sea located in the Central Europe, in the Montenegro country. What other seas have I been to? Maybe a few others. Oh, the Baltic Sea, the one that's in the Northern Europe, and maybe a couple of others. Oh, the sea in the Thailand. I don't remember the name, but thing is, I've been to quite a lot. And today I'm gonna tell you like the best stories from those seas. First, what is the difference? Because most people think that sea is just a lot of water that is salty. Salty from very intensive gaming, of course. But in reality, seas do differ, and they differ quite a lot. For example, if we compare the first two seas I mentioned, Black Sea and the Mediterranean, they are also really close to each other. One more sea between them is the Marble Sea, and I've also been to this one. So, Black Sea and the Mediterranean. The difference between those is that Black Sea does not have any oceans that it goes into, whereas the Mediterranean connects with the Atlantic Ocean, and basically from the Atlantic Ocean the water flows through the whole Mediterranean from the left to right. If we are looking on the map, then it goes into this Marble Sea, and from the Marble Sea via the Bosphorus Strait it goes into the Black Sea. So this is one of the reasons why Black Sea is not as salty. So the amount of salt per gram is much lower in the Black Sea than in the Mediterranean, and these things can actually differ. So the ocean is one of the reasons, but it's not the main reason why Black Sea is less salty than the Mediterranean. I'm pretty sure the main reason is the climate around the sea. Mediterranean in general is much hotter sea, so the climate is tropical or subtropical around the sea themselves, which is why the fish that likes the salty water, that strives in this water, it needs the more salty water, and as the climate changed to the hotter weather because of the global warming, etc., the more salty the water gets. It's a pretty complicated thing. You don't need to think it over very much, but just remember that the different seas are more and less salty, and you really feel it when you dive and some water gets spilled on your eyes, nose. Oh, this is painful. The most painful sea I've been to in terms of nose and eyes pain when the salty water gets to you is, of course, first one, the Dead Sea. Dead Sea is the saltiest sea in the world. Just so you understand the extent of how salty this sea is. So imagine you are in the water of any ocean or sea. Because it's salty water, basically it's easier for you to swim, because salty water almost pushes you out of the water. Thus, it's just because of the salt. The amount of salt you have in the water, it's gonna push you back, and if we are simplify this, it basically makes you lighter. As for example, if you were to swim in the swimming pool, because swimming pool does not have any salt, it has the chlorine instead. So you are getting much lighter in those kind of seas, and the more salt there is, the more the water pushes you out. So basically, in the lower salt, not as salty seas, you are pushed. Let's call it, for example, I'm gonna get myself as an example. So I weigh 90 kilograms, and this means that I would say, like, if it's always an estimate, I don't have the exact numbers, but if you want to, you can look it up. I think that basically the Dead Sea reduced my weight by at least 2/3. So my actual weight in this very salty water was around 30 kilograms. Why is that? Because when you go into this water, it literally pushes you out so hard that you cannot even dive. Imagine that. So the lower salt seas are not as aggressive in this pushing you out, but the Dead Sea was on another level. Same thing goes for the Red Sea, but the Red Sea is kind of different. It's also very, very salty. It's probably the second saltiest sea in the world, but the Red Sea does not push you back so hard. And it has the different kind of vibe to it. The Dead Sea is called dead because it's so salty that no living organisms, again, other than the microorganisms, can live in this lake. Almost lake. It's the sea, but it's similar to lake. It's not as big. So no fish lives in there because it's so fucking salty. Fish just dies. Everything that goes into the sea dies. This is how messed up this is. But the Red Sea is a different thing. It is pretty interesting that Red Sea is close, but it has the perfect ratio of salt, so that a lot of tropical, beautiful, colorful fish can thrive in this sea. There are a lot of corals in the Red Sea. There are a lot of different fish types, both the predators and the herbivores. There are a lot of interesting stuff. And let's focus on the Red Sea for some time. I've been to Egypt like probably 3 or 4 times, and Egypt has the Red Sea. Basically, it has the best parts of the Red Sea. There are 2 Egypt tourist cities that are most popular. There are first Sharm el Sheikh, and the second one is Hurghada. Sharm el Sheikh is the bigger one. Hurghada is the smaller one, but the latter one has more divine nature. So, what do you have in the Red Sea? In those beaches, you basically go into the water, and immediately after like 5 meters from the coast, you can see a lot of fish, the different fish that swims in there. One of the most prevalent fishes there is the parrotfish. Why is it called this way? Because it has the I don't remember this word. I'm gonna look it up because I really need to be specific. Oh, okay, beak. It has the beak instead of the regular mouth. Why does it have the beak? Because this fish tries to eat the moss and the... I'm not gonna go into specifics. Let's call it the things that go out of the other fish. So basically the scraps from the rocks, and when those parrotfish swims around you, you are snorkeling. This is how you observe these fish. You don't go diving most of the times. You're just snorkeling and looking at these fish from above. So what's interesting about this fish, when you do snorkeling, you can hear the beaks scratching the rocks or the corals. It's pretty interesting and unique experience, because I've never seen the parrotfish in any other sea other than this Red Sea region. The other thing that's interesting in the saltier and the hotter seas is the variety of fish. So parrotfish is one of the easiest to explain and the most unique, but there are a lot of different fish, the big ones, the small ones, the tight ones, the wide ones. I've seen, for example, from those fish that most of us know, I've seen the real life pufferfish, I've seen the octopuses, I've seen quite a lot of stuff, and the sea hedgehog is the freaking dangerous thing that has needles and tries to poison its prey to eat it later on. These things are dangerous, but you don't usually get to step on them. Like, this is one of the most dangerous thing to step on. What you have is just the sea hedgehogs usually are on the bottom of the reef you're swimming and snorkeling above, and they don't touch you, but you can see their needles. Sometimes these needles can be even 1 meter long, like very fucking long, and they are usually hiding in the, not under the rocks, but I would say in between the tight rocks, and they locate their needles the way that it's more likely to touch the prey, and when they actually pierce through something, they wait for the prey to go down to them, die, and they eat it. It's a pretty interesting dynamics, and basically the more you find out about the sea, the more interesting it gets. Everything is dependent on everything. For example, one fish is dependent on the other as the food. Then the bigger fish eats this food. Then some poisonous fish eats the bigger one, and they have the flock of them and they eat it. And there are a lot of variety, different stuff. One of the more interesting ones is also called, just a sec, I'm going to translate it, moray. Moray is a fucking terrifying fish. What moray is? It is the predator fish that eats the other fish. Why is it dangerous? Because if moray attacks you, you are not screwed, but you will lose a lot of confidence swimming in the water. What moray does, it usually does not attack the bigger fish than its own weight and size. Usually morays range from, like, I would say 5 centimeters wide and half a meter long to like 20 centimeters wide and like 2 meters long. So these fish can grow to quite a big size. They have long teeth and the small eyes. It's not like the shark, they are more like eels or the snakes of the undersea. They don't live very low though, so they are also near the reefs, and they usually hunt the smaller fish. But what's dangerous is their attack pattern. What do they do to kill the prey? They don't attack like the sharks, for example, as we see them in the movies. What sharks do, they attack and then they throw their prey from side to side to bite off the pieces of the meat. Moray is more terrifying. Basically, when the fish swims by the moray nest, morays also, they do hide under the rocks, and they usually hide in between the rocks and corals in the very tight spots where its body nearly fits, like it's very tight, and it tries to blend with the environment so that nobody mentions it. And then when the prey is close enough, what moray does is it just accelerates and with the ridiculously high speed, and in an instant, and the fish is caught and it swallows it whole and sits in the next later until the next prey comes and just digest this. It's very similar to the dynamic how the snakes eat stuff, but the moray is like very quick and you don't see the prey. Why is it dangerous to the people? Usually it's not dangerous, but if you are stupid, it's gonna be dangerous to you. Morays need to defend themselves, so when they see that the larger fish try to hunt them down or attack them, they don't have a lot of enemies in the sea world, sea nature, but sometimes when they feel they are in danger, they are gonna bite you and go back into their nest, so that the bigger fish don't go near their nests. And basically, what happens if this fish bites you? It does not poison you, but Maurice, when they attack the bigger, let's call it organisms, they bite off the pieces of the bigger organisms and they leave us at that. So for example, if the Murray attacks your leg, it's gonna take, let's call it correctly, politely, it's gonna take a piece of your leg, not the bones but the muscles, and you don't want to go near this fish. It's pretty scary, but fortunately you're not gonna meet it very often, but you can see Murrays in the Red Sea. Also, just a sec, I need to translate one more thing. Okay, sea urchin, sea orchinas. No, sea urchin. Okay, sea urchins are, it's the same as sea hedgehog. I roughly translate from the Russian, but it's different, I guess. Sea urchin. Okay, so sea urchins are the things that have the needles and hide. There are different kinds of sea urchins. Basically, the one I described to you earlier is the most common one, with the dark black or brown needles. And usually, the interesting fact, when you face those guys in the wild, they actually don't have that long of needles, because most of the time when somebody tries to attack them, they need to hide themselves like a hedgehog in the real life. So they try to pull all of those needles all around, and it's more often than not, when the predators attack them, they throw them to the side and their needles can break. It's not gonna affect this sea urchin that much, but it's pretty interesting dynamics. You are observing this, where you can find the urchins with the needles smaller than your pinky finger, and as simple as that. But the more cracked and broken needles they have, usually the older these sea urchins are. And the interesting part is that the other kind of these sea urchins has the different kind of needles. The first one has very thin and usually long needles, the black ones. Thin, I would say it's like 2 millimeters thin. It's very similar to your pen. However, there is another sea urchin which is called crayon urchin, because its needles look very, very similar to the crayons pencils. They are short. I would say the length of their needles at best, even the adult versions of these creatures, is at best 10 centimeters. It's not long, but they are thick as fuck. I would say like it can be up to 1 centimeter thick. And same thing as with the regular sea urchins, these guys are dangerous when you step on them, because they have the venom on the tip of each of these needles. But it's very interesting how these thick guys develop themselves, and these two creatures of the same kind look dramatically different. Okay guys, I hope this was interesting to you. I can rant about the seas for quite a while. Maybe I'm gonna stream this. Have a great day. Press the like or dislike button right now, depending on what you think. And guys, the result of the Brickell, because I focused a lot on the seas, the God Boost itself. God Boost Brickell got 4.2 million pops, but Brickell was able to kill the round 119, and we were able to close off this game. So Brickell is much better as a standalone hero than some of the others who were not able to destroy all the stuff after round 120. Thank you for your attention, subscribe now, and see ya in the next one.